Hi everyone, my name is Phil and welcome to Phil Does 3D. I am a multimedia and 3D artist and I stream live on Twitch on Mondays and Tuesdays at 5 p.m. Pacific time in the United States, which is 10 a.m. in Australia, or 1 a.m. if you're in the UK. Do remember though, if you do miss the live streams, you can catch up with the premiere event streams on a Friday and Saturday at 2 p.m. Pacific time in the US, 7 a.m. in Australia, or 10 p.m. in the UK. I hope all you guys and girls are well and that you had a good weekend and a good week. We are going to continue working on the Temple of the Winds. We're making it in 3D Studio Max. We're texturing it up in Substance Painter. We're going to do a little bit of overpainting in Mari by the Foundry. And finally, we're going to do some beauty renders in Eon View. That's the plan. If you want to see what my schedule is for different streams that I have, if you look above my stream in the events section, there's a little button that says events at the very top. That'll give you an idea of what I'm streaming on what days. My streaming days don't change, always Monday and Tuesday, but that'll give you an idea of what we're supposed to be working on that day. Like we're supposed to be starting with Mari today, but we just have one more asset left to texture up in Substance Painter. So that's what we're probably going to do today, and we'll probably jump into Mari tomorrow. Okay, so remember, as always, if you've got any questions or anything you're not sure about, please feel free to jump into Twitch chat and ask me. If I can help in any way, I'm happy to try. If you just want to pop into chat and say hello, that's always welcome. But if all you want to do is watch, that's completely fine. Also remember the Discord server, the Phil Does 3D Discord. Only subs can post in my Twitch chat, post links that is in my Twitch chat. But everyone can post links to their work on the Discord server, and you can find an invite link below my stream in my panels. Okay, so let's just jump into Max so we can check what we were working on last week. So this is our Temple of the Winds that we are texturing up, and we've really only got the lines here left to do. But there is something I'm looking at. We'll probably do the lines first, but I may end up changing these little green half tile sections here around the outside. I may switch it to this this material we created last week. I just think it might blend in a little bit better. I'm just worried it's looking a little bit busy here, here, and here. So breaking it up a little bit might be a good idea, and it'll help to tie that texture into the rest of the terrace. I mean, yeah, I'm not sure. I'm going to decide later. We could probably do that first and then do the lines. Not sure. Yeah, I'm just worried it's looking a little bit busy. It doesn't look terrible, but I'm just thinking it might look nicer with that green tile there on these half tiles here. Let's do that, actually. Let's jump into Substance, open up the last project we were working on, which will be this one. And we'll make a smart material out of this substance we set up. Did I already make a smart material? I think I might have. Let's double check. My green metal rust, no, that's not the one. I set it up to make a smart material, but I don't think we did. So let's double check again. No, we didn't. So let's do that. So everything is set up. My terrace steps white. Why did I call them white? Let's just rename this. Let's call this my centered steps. That'll do. And create a smart material. My center steps, that's the one there. Good. Alrighty, let's jump back into Max. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to wait for Max to get its brain together. Here we go. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just isolate one of these steps. We'll do one and then we'll do a comparison between them. So I'll apply a new texture to one of them and then we'll look around the model and decide if we prefer the new texture. I won't overwrite the original texture so we can go backwards and forwards if we need to. So I'm just going to isolate this one step. And just assign a plain material to it. If I can find a plain material for it. I'll just pull one in. We will make it white. And I'll assign it. And this is called Terrace Step. I'm going to call this one Terrace Step R2 for revision 2. Let's export that. And I'm going to call this, make a new folder for this. I'm going to call it Honeycomb version. Because that's the green version we're using at the moment. We won't overwrite that in case we want to go back. Terrace Step R2. Now we can create a new project in Substance Painter. Compute tangent space, because I'm actually going to bring this model into the game that we're going to be start working on shortly. So I must make sure I compute tangent space per fragment. That's all good. Discard is fine. Let's bake out our maps. Paz, good to see you, Paz. I'm doing really well. How are you? What you been up to? It's good to see you though, Paz. Okay. Get up to anything interesting over the weekend? Doing any 3D work? Just gonna grab a quick copy. You good? Good to hear. Okay, we've baked our maps out. Let's assign the smart material we just saved out. Now this is a smaller step than the other one, so I'm just trying to work out my scaling here. I think this might be a bit small, so we're going to jump back to the underlying texture and just pull back a bit on the scaling. Paz says 3D never ending. Yeah, I know. I do know, Paz. 3D is never ending. But that's okay. We love what we do. It's all good. I actually think that's probably better. I think that's a better match for our for the other tiles, but I'm just going to double check it just to be on the safe side. Jump out of isolation mode really quick. Again, just wait for Max to catch up. There we go. And back into isolation mode again. Yeah, I just want to make sure that the tile size that I have here matches the tile size here, so. I think they should match. We can check it when we export the texture. Just going to elongate the tile a little bit. Wrong direction. Because they're not complete hexagons on the other one, they're sort of like a stretched hexagon. Slightly stretched. Paz says, of course we like drugs. It's like a drug, that's right. Thank you, Paz. I'm glad you like it. We will finish it off soon. We will. Today should be the last of the substance texturing, and then we'll jump into Mari tomorrow, more than likely. Let's export this texture and then we can compare the two and make any adjustments we might need. I'm just going to rename this material from generic material 1155 to, I'm just going to call it half step hex for hexagon. Export the textures, make sure we are in the right directory. Here. Wow, what did I... I can't remember what I called the folder. Will I know it when I see it? That is the question. Separate, no. Terrace step, no. Oh, you know what? I can't for the life of me remember what I called it, so I'm just going to jump back into Max really quick. I'm just going to go for it. I'm not going to export it, but I just want to try and find the path. Circular steps, that's what I called it. There you go. Temp, send to substance. Circular steps. Honeycomb version, there we go. We got there in the end. Let's just export that texture. And jump back into, before I jump back into Max, I'm just going to do a save here on this file. Did any of you guys that were using Substance have problems opening up your software yesterday? If you did, that was because the license server at Adobe went down. So people weren't able to open their Substance programs because the license check wasn't working. Smurfberry says I didn't open it yesterday. Well, just as well. Actually, you could have fixed it by just adding the line no license check to your shortcut to run the program. That would have worked as well, but yeah, it caught a lot of people off guard when they tried to open up Substance Painter yesterday or Substance, and it wouldn't work, wouldn't open. That says I found 2 grey hairs on my head. You're dead soon. WTF. Yeah. I've got a few grey hairs, don't worry. You get used to it, Paz, don't worry. My hair, luckily my hair is light enough that the greys that are in there aren't really noticeable. Yet. What am I doing here? I'm saving the project, that's right. Honeycomb steps, that'll do. It happens to us all. You can't avoid the greys. Well, you can dye them, I guess, if they really bother you. I wouldn't worry about it if I was you. Makes you look distinguished. Paz says, feels better when I watch you. Ah, you're having a go. You're having a go, aren't you? So rude. So rude. Okay, here is the texture we're using for the green tile. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to set up another DirectX shader for the new one that we've just made. We'll get rid of that. Oh, Pat says, but I'm 53. I think it's okay. Oh, okay. At 53, then yeah, you're going to have to start having a few grey hairs, Pat. I'm not that old. Are you saying you feel better? You're 53, you have a few grey hairs, and you feel better because you watch me and I've got more grey hairs than you? Is that what you're trying to say? Or am I misreading that completely? Let's pull in the new maps for this. Yeah, I think I put it in the wrong folder actually. Yeah, I did. It doesn't matter. We can work with it the way it is. I'm just going to have to make sure I move this into the right spot. Actually, I really should do that before I start hooking things up. Otherwise, when I start to set the materials up, the PBR materials up in Eon View, I'm going to get completely confused and lost. And that won't be a good thing. So just before we hook it up, I'm just going to move them out of this folder. Make sure I know what I'm moving it to. Terrace steps, but and that is in the folder. Oh. There's circular steps. I think I saved it in the wrong. No, center substance, circular steps, honeycomb version. I'm getting confused. Oh, look, I'm only, what, 10 minutes into the stream and I'm already confusing myself. Circular steps. Oh, honeycomb version, there we go. I still put it in the wrong folder, but that's okay. But that means we do need to move this folder here. And put it in here. No. Hang on. The textures are here, so maybe I did put it in the right folder to begin with. I think I did. Wow. Anyway, let's jump back in. So we want the normal map. Which will be this one. Paz says, I'm in for only 2. Paz says, 100,000 hair on head divided by number of days. Yes, I think for only 2 you're doing well then. You're doing very well. The color map. The metallic map. And the roughness map. Let's turn them on by switching it from 0 to 1. Am I going to make this unique? Yeah, well, I'll make it unique. Terrace steps are 2. Let's open up the shader grower. And change it to 3 lights. And save it. I'm going to call it Terrace Steps R2. Okay, now we're going to hook up. Just going to pull in a bitmap so I know what this shader is. Oh, I see. Okay. Alright, now let's assign this shader to the step. And I'm just going to move it to the side here so I know that these two steps are the same. Let's jump out of, actually just before I do that, again now I'm going to double check our honeycomb size. And I actually think the honeycomb needs to be a little bit bigger. Let's jump into the top viewport, it's probably easier. Yeah, a little bit bigger. So let's jump it back and just make some adjustments to our scaling. Let's export that and check it.
Are you ready?
Max just complaining because we updated the textures. And Max gets confused. Let's just reload that texture now. Oops, I forgot I was in the top viewport. Still looks like it's not quite right. So I want to make sure it has loaded up the new texture. Yeah, I don't think it has, so just going to jump back into Max and see why it's not reloading the correct texture.
Are you ready?
Maybe it did load it. That does not look like that to me. This looks smaller. Or am I imagining things? No, I'm pretty sure I'm not. So I'm just going to try and work out now why Max is not reloading the texture correctly. Paz says, what was the graph texture? X texture shader? You're talking about this graph, this node graph I'm looking at here, Paz? If that's what you mean, then this is the node graph for the DirectX shader. Yep, this is the node graph for the DirectX shader that I'm using here. The reason I'm using a DirectX shader is so that we pick up, it looks like it does in Substance Painter here in Max. We're picking up all that nice metallic highlight, well, you know, the highlighting and things. That's the reason. It's really just for you guys so you can see that what I'm working on, it helps me too, to see that what I make in Substance Painter, when I bring it into Max, looks the same. You used it a long time ago? Yeah. Yep. Basically what I'm doing with it is I'm just making sure, because it defaults to using one light, and I wanted to use 3 different lights just to give it a bit more definition, interest. One light can make things a bit dark. So yeah, I'm just going in, changing the number of lights, but if anytime you make any changes in the default DirectX Shader node here, you must always make sure you export it. Otherwise, when you close it, you're going to lose those changes. It's a good way if you're working in Max and you're working in Substance Painter for you to see exactly the same thing in Max as you see in Substance Painter. Otherwise, if you just work with a standard shader, you don't get any of the nice reflections or normal map. You can use a physical material, but that's really only good if you want to render in V-Ray, and it also won't show you what it looks like in the viewport. The DirectX Shader is a good way to see what it looks like in the viewport. Real time in viewport. Yep, that's right. That's what it's used for. Spaghetti, you're talking about the node tree. Yeah. Now I've got to try and work out why. Why it does not want to update my material. Maybe let's re-export the shader again just to be on the safe side. Just in case, you never know. Here is step R2, I believe that's the one we called it. Yep. Although that really should not make a difference to the viewport here. Maybe that is correct. Maybe I'm just going mad. No, it does not look right to me. What could the problem be? What could the problem be? Yeah, that's definitely different to what I'm seeing in Max. Let me make sure the path here is correct. Circular steps, honeycomb version. Circular steps, honeycomb version. That should all be correct. That should not be a problem. So why is it a problem? That is really strange. Just for the interim, I'm going to assign the material here, not the DirectX Shader. Now you see that's the size that it is in Substance Painter, which is too big by the way. Now looking at this one, I'm just wondering why the DirectX Shader is not picking that up. That's weird. Okay, well, we know that the shader actually, I've got to redo the texture. It's too big at the moment, so let's do that first and we can worry about the DirectX stuff in a minute. So let's make it a bit smaller. Let's try that. You forgot the name, Paz? Yeah, DirectX Shader. That's what we're using. Let's jump back into Max. Make sure that the shader has the texture has been reloaded. Okay, now it's a little bit small. Can't win. Too big, too small, too big, too small. Just a little bit bigger. Nope, wrong way. So it was 5.27, let's take it to 5. So let's take it to 4.9. Let's try that. Thankfully it's nice and quick if we need to make any changes. That's the good thing about Substance Painter. Let's reload the texture again. And the size is better, but the honeycomb's just a bit too elongated, so I'm just going to change that. Okay, let's see if third time lucky. Even though we saved a smart material inside of Substance Painter and we reused that same smart material on the new step, because the new step is smaller than the original large central steps, that's the reason we have to make these adjustments for the scaling. Let's reload the texture again. And I think that's better. Yep, that will work for us. Okay. Now let's work out what's going on with the DirectX Shader. Paz says, I found 4 new scripts last week. Now I got 736 scripts. You have 736 scripts. Wow. You know, it's a funny thing. Scripts are really powerful and a really good tool that you can use in a 3D program, particularly Max. But I don't tend to use a lot of scripts actually. Yeah, no, I don't. I mean, not having said that, I do use some. But I don't use a lot. And there are a lot of really cool scripts out there for Max. And I've actually written some myself. I created one years ago that converted animated plants from Eon View into speed tree format, and using Max. Because if you've got an animated, say you make an animated plant in Eon View, there was no way to bring it into speed tree. There is now because there's Alembic support and stuff, but back then there wasn't, so I had to create my own plugin script for Max to do it. And that was fun. Max's scripting language is really cool. Really powerful too. Paz says some are very useful, like 20% maybe. Yeah, no, there are some very cool scripts out there. UV mapping scripts as well. Some really cool UV mapping scripts. Actually, I installed a new script the other day. It's for physics, so I can do modeling using physics. So say I want a rock pile, I can use this plugin, the script plugin, to actually paint my rocks, and then use Mass Effects to drop the rocks on where I need them. As an example, it could be, you know, bricks. It could be sticks. It could be leaves. It could be anything. So yeah, it's a physics painting tool basically to set up a scene in Max. I haven't played with it a lot because I only installed it the other day. Haven't had a chance to actually use it much yet. Actually, Mass Effects is playing up in Max 2020 here for me. I've got to work out why. You'll see that's Mass Effects up here in the corner. I've got to work out why Mass Effects is not working properly in Max for me. I'm still streaming, good. Just making sure. I think the easiest way to fix this problem with the DirectX shader might be for us to just make a new DirectX shader. And let's see if that fixes our problem. So it just means dragging one of these in again. In fact, I can get rid of that. And let's just set this up again. So we want it to be an interactive shader. Let's pull in the normal map. I have a feeling what's going on with the DirectX shader is it's being cached in memory and not updating the cache like it should be. Why, I don't know. And that's just a theory, but sounds right to me. Color map. Metallic map. And the roughness map. Let's turn them on. So yeah, once we've finished this project, we're going to be working on the House on the Hollow, which is the game that I'm releasing on Steam with a few other guys that are working with me in the studio. Actually, that's what I spent the weekend doing, was setting up my Steam account, my developer Steam account and stuff, so we could send builds up through to Steam. Okay, so they're all turned on, that's good. Make it unique, open the shader, change the number of lights, export the graph. Let's make that a bit bigger. Terra steps R2, let's call this Terra steps R2 underscore R2. So we know it's revision 2 or revision 2. Per says pretty weird. Sometimes my Max 2014 is more powerful than 2018. I was using, what was I using? I was using 2018 before I updated, and I went from 2018 straight to 2020. I didn't use 2019. 2018 was behaving really well for me. 2020, Max 2020, it's been really, I don't know, really fiddly. It's got some problems. I've found a few problems with Max 2020. Break that link. Assign the shader. And now we're good to go. Oh, no, we're not good to go. What is going on? Let me double check again. There's something strange going on here. And I can't for the life of me work out what it is. It's still showing the same shader as the old version. I think it is. Let me just double check again. Yeah, that's what it should be showing. And that's what it's showing. Very weird. That's okay. We're going to do this. We won't set it up as a DirectX shader. We'll just assign it as a regular shader here. It's really only for the viewport. It's really only for beauty in the viewport. It does nothing for the model when I export it, I'm going to have to reset up PBR materials and Eon View anyway. This is just for me and for you guys, so we can see what it looks like in the viewport. So we don't need it to be a DirectX shader particularly. Let's jump out of isolation mode. Now, my reason for doing this was just to do a comparison as to whether I want to keep the original green tile or switch it to this turquoisey color. So I'm just going to select something so that Max has something to lock on to when I do a rotation. And we're just going to have a look and see which we prefer. Do we prefer the green or do we prefer the turquoise? And I'm actually leaning toward the turquoise here. I think it blends in a little bit better. We're blending the textures into the scene a little bit better. This green tile, while it looks okay, my concern, like I said, was it gets a bit busy. You could do it. It's not terrible. I'm just thinking that the turquoise here just blends in a little bit better. Helps to tie that part of the model with the rest of the model. I could be wrong. You guys might have a different opinion. Paz is saying, what do you do about QuadRemesh? What do you mean, Paz? You talking about the quad modifier? Quadify mesh, is that what you mean in Max? Or are you asking me how I do remeshing? I don't know what you mean, Paz. That's why I'm asking. What do you about QuadRemesh? Are you? Is that a program? I'm not familiar. If that's a separate program, I don't know it. If I have to quantify a mesh, I use the quantify mesh here modifier in Max, or I go into ZBrush and use remesher in ZBrush. No, I don't know, Paz. It's new to me. QuadRemesher. Let me have a look. I'm always interested in anything that's anything new with regards to remeshing, because it's always a pain. So it's called QuadRemesher. It's in Max now? Oh, with a script. Oh, okay. Do you have to download it? Because I have not come across it in Max. Oh, okay. There's a little tutorial here. Let's have a look. I'm not familiar with this. I've never seen it. Because generally, what I do for remeshing is I'll take the model into ZBrush and I'll use ZBrush to quantify it, remesh it. I'm just reading this while I'm talking to you guys. Well, there you go. There are the prices for this. $59.90 for an indie license, $109.90 for a pro license, or $15.99 a month. Reduced to $9.99 as the introductory offer. Let's just look at the video really quick. I'm just going to make sure sound is turned off because I don't want to infringe on anyone's copyright or have Twitch mute my stream. It's available for Maya and Max, so. It's like ZBrush, yes, okay. Well, there you go. Being able to do it in the 3D program is very handy, as it saves, saves having to export the model, import it into ZBrush, get ZBrush to remesh it, re-export the model. Being able to do it in Max here is very cool. Yeah, I don't want to look at how you authorize it. Thank you very much. Just get on to what it is. There you go. Yeah, that's very cool. Maya there, but you get it in Max too. Yeah, I'm assuming it works pretty much the same way in Max. The interface will look the same. Okay, so it's got a 3D scan here. Let's watch him remesh it. Yeah, that is very cool. ZBrush does the same sort of thing though. Mind you, ZBrush is much more expensive than $59.90 or $109.90. Yeah, that is very cool. I'll have to check that out when I've got a bit more time. Actually, I will. I won't close my yeah, no, I'll check that out. But do bear in mind, inside of Max here now, I believe they introduced it in Max 2018 or 2019. If we just add a box, and let's just isolate the box. Let's turn on edged faces. There is a Quadify Mesh modifier inside of Max that you can use as well. If you need to. Just saying. And it looks like I've gone a bit small. Max is taking a while here to catch up. Yeah, it's 0.2. It's a little bit small here. Very small quads. But yeah, there is the Quadify Mesh modifier inside of 3D Studio Max that you can use as well if you need to. Let me just turn off edged faces here. There we go. But yeah, generally I'll use ZRemesher inside of ZBrush to do retopology. But I will check that plugin out because it does look very cool. Yeah, I think I actually prefer the green tile, this turquoisey green color to this patent green. I think it makes the steps stand out a little bit more and helps to blend that step into the rest of the model. So, what do you guys think? Which one do you prefer? Do you prefer the green tile or do you prefer the plain tile? The patent green or the plain green? Patent green or plain green? I'm interested in what you guys think. I'm good, you got spooged. How are you? It's good to see you. You got spooged, and I hope you're well. Smoker says, I like it like that. Paz says the green. The plain green or the patent green? So tell me the plain green or patent green as to which one you prefer. So that's the patent green. That's the plain green. You're doing great. Good to hear you got spooged. Alona Wolf says, I recently saw some stuff about the UV unwrapping and mesh tool stuff in Houdini. Have you tried that by any chance? No, I have not. I haven't tried it. Again, I'm always interested in new stuff that helps anyone's workflow, because I do so much 3D work. Anything that speeds up my workflow I'm always interested in looking at. So I will check it out though. Plain green, Paz says. Okay, I think plain green as well. Yeah, and again, the reason I think I like the plain green here as opposed to the patent green here is simply because it helps to tie that step into the rest of the model. And I'm just worried that the patent green here starts to make this look a bit too busy. Yeah, so that's why I think I prefer the plain green as well. Alona Wolf says, same here. The UV stuff is something I'm really still trying to wrap my head around in general. It took me a while too, so don't feel like you're the odd one out. It did take me a little while to sort of wrap my head around UVing as well. It's not intuitive at first. How to do UV mapping. It can be quite. It was a similar thing with when I started doing programming. Programming in the beginning, I found it hard to wrap my head around that as well. Yeah, so it's just sort of like changing the way you think, and once you understand how it works, then it makes it much easier. But I can relate. Alona Wolf, I was the same initially. It took a little while. No pun intended, Alona Wolf says. Wrapping your head around UV mapping. Yeah, I'm the same. It took me a little while as well. But once you get it, then you get it. Same with programming. Once you get how programming works, you get it. And the only way to get it properly is just to keep practicing at it, and eventually, you know, it'll click. You get that little click moment happening in your brain, and you understand how it works. So let's change these other terrace steps to the new one now. Baz says PTEX. Yeah, PTEX texturing is where you don't need to UV map. For anyone that's not familiar, it's been around for a few years now. You can use 3D Coat does it, ZBrush can do it. So yeah, it's a way to texture your model up without UV mapping, basically. I believe actually we were talking about UDIMs a few weeks ago and game engines, and currently at the moment, I don't think there are any game engines that can use that can use UDIMs, but the new update coming to Unreal 4, UE4, I believe you can start to use UDIMs. That'll be very cool, being able to use UDIMs in a game engine. I don't know about PTEX though. I don't think you can use PTEX. Maybe with the advent of real-time ray tracing, that might all get included in game engines in the future. But for rasterization, I believe you still need UV mapping. Alona Wolf says, yeah, that's true. It took me about 4.5 years of trying at C# tutorials before I got that moment. Yeah, it was the same with me, particularly when I started doing Java, when I started learning Java. It took me a little while to wrap my head around how programming worked. But once you get it for one, you get it for all of them. You know what I mean? Once you understand one of them, it applies to pretty much all of them. So, which is a good thing. Paz says, good question, Phil. Don't think the engine can use PTEX for now. No, I don't think it is. I don't think it can. But with real-time ray tracing taking off in the next few years, you probably will be able to soon in the future. And yeah, being able to use UDIMs in a game engine, that's going to be really cool, because UDIMs are really useful. UDIMs are used in film constantly. You know, a film model does not have just one UV map. They make heavy use of UDIMs. You know, in the fields of, like, it's not unusual to have 128 UDIMs on a model, a film grade model. As says, we'll see. You Got Spooged says, you're using Maya. No, I'm using 3D Studio Max. You Got Spooged. I'm a Max guy. Smurfberry, I believe, uses Maya. He's one of the mods on the channel here. Yes, so yes, I'm using Max. You're a Blender guy. Well, Blender is coming along gangbusters. I mean, Blender's taking off like nobody's business. I've actually got to start learning Blender a bit better. I really have to install it and start playing with it, because it's taking over everything. It's free. For anyone watching that doesn't know, you can download and install Blender absolutely free, and it's a very good 3D program. 2.8 is a dream, You Got Spooged says. Yeah, that's what I've heard. Another one of the mods on my channel, Sniper Echo, he uses Blender as well, and he loves it. So there's a few guys and girls that jump into my chat and watch my channel that use Blender. Alona Wolf says Blender guy myself too. There you go. Since about 2.6. Edit Mode 3D says I'm a Blender gal. 2.8 is great, in my opinion, especially for sculpting. Yeah, look, I've heard nothing but good things about Blender, and particularly Blender 2.8. I've seen the interface, because a big thing for me when I work in any software, the interface has to be nice and clean and easy to use. That's the reason I hate ZBrush so much, and the reason that the guys give me shit about it all the time, because I'm always bitching about ZBrush's interface. ZBrush, the interface in ZBrush is very hard to use. It's unique to ZBrush. It doesn't follow normal 3D workflows with the 2.5D canvas thing and all that sort of stuff. So a nice, clean, easy to use interface is really important to me, and you get that with Blender. Blender's interface is nice. So I get why you guys love it, and I have to start learning a bit more about it as well. Smurfberry says, did I mention in the Discord that I tried out a bit of sculpting in 2.8 last week? Pretty good so far. I don't remember if you did or not. And let me catch up on some of the follows. My apologies for not noticing. You got Spooge, thanks for the follow. Alona Wolf, thank you for the follow. Loki Star 22, thank you for following, and Zane, thank you for the follow as well. The Asian name there, sorry, I can't read that language, so thank you for the follow too. Yeah, I don't know if you did actually, Smurfberry, post into the Discord. But speaking of the Discord, let's pop that link in Twitch chat for you guys. So do join the Phil Does 3D Discord server. It's a place where you guys can post links to your work in the gallery. There's a place where you can post links to your ArtStation or portfolio. There's a tutorials and tips section that the users have contributed to and posted in Discord. So everyone's very friendly, very helpful. If you've ever got a problem with anything you're doing or working on, you can ask a question in the Discord server, and if I don't answer you, one of the other guys and girls will. So yeah, join the Discord, guys. Just don't post links in my Twitch chat unless you're a sub to my channel. But everyone can post a link in the Discord. There's like a 10-minute cooling down period from when you first join the Discord to when you can start posting. So if you just join the Discord and you want to show something off, just wait 10 minutes and then you'll become a full member and you can post links then. It's just to stop spam and stuff, the 10-minute cooldown. Alona Wolf says Blender and Substance, and You Got Spooge says I just love the dedicated workspace layouts 2.8 has brought, especially for shader programming. Cool. Edit Mode says I like that we can customize our whole interface. Mine's all blue. Well, that'd be nice. You can customize Max to a degree. You know, they give you presets. You can't change them. You can't change a lot about them. So it's either grey, light grey or dark grey. So being able to change the interface to the color that you like sounds very cool. Alona Wolf says I'm 90% hard surface stuff at the moment, but I will deep dive into sculpting at some point. I'm pretty much hard surface as well. For you guys that might be watching me that haven't seen my channel before, my background is I used to work in games development, then I went to work in feature film, and now I work in ArchViz. So generally all of my titles in each profession have been hard surface environment artist. I've been an environment artist and a technical artist. So that's pretty much what I've done in my background. Paz says it's tools, and Alona Wolf says some really good add-ons too. Edit Mode says I do hard surface off and on, but sculpting always sucks me right back in. Well, that's why ZBrush is the best sculpting program, hands down. There is the one made by Autodesk, but Autodesk don't update their program anymore, so ZBrush is pretty much it, and it does the job really well. So I'm not gonna diss the software. The software works nicely, just the interface is terrible. Alona Wolf says hard ops for the decal machine are like cheat codes for hard surface stuff. Paz says, yeah, why did he call you Smurfberry Barbecue call you Sniper Echo? No. I was talking about Sniper Echo. I don't think I called Sniper. Look, I probably did. I've done it before. I mix up the Sniper Echoes with the Sniper Girls with the Sniper Barbecues. All those S's. They get me confused. Smile. That's right. Smurpery says he just gets us confused all the time. That's right. And Edit Mode says I love ZBrush but can't afford it. It is expensive, I have to admit. Yeah, it can get expensive. I'm great. I'm lucky in a way that because the studio I work for, the ArchViz studio now, allows me to do a lot of my work from home. Like I still have to go into the studio a couple of days a week, but I can do a lot of my work from home and just VPN into the servers in the studio. The studio is not very far from me anyway. It's only like, a 10-minute drive, maybe 15-minute drive. So it's not very far, but I like to be able to work at home. And I'm lucky in that the studio pays for the software that I use at home. So they buy the license for Max, they buy the license for Substance, they buy the license for View. I don't have to outlay any money. So I'm lucky that way. Very lucky. And that's why I've been with the studio I am now for about 7 years or so. So, but if you've got to start, emptying your own pocket to buy a lot of this software, it can get incredibly expensive. So I understand that. Edit Mode. Edit Mode says, I made Sir Daniel Fortescue from Medieval on ZBrush. Cool. Well, remember, if you've got anything you want to show, post it in the gallery on the Discord server. Paz says, where are the two Sniper Mo? Yeah, I know. Where are they? Well, I know Sniper Girl is working, which I'm not going to show, is working on a model for a job interview, for a job application at a game studio. Sniper Echo, he's had a lot going on lately, so I'm not sure. They're both busy at the moment, though, I think. So I think, yeah, that's what they're doing, Paz. Lona Wolf says, the one positive is that at least a perpetual license and not a sale. Tell me about it. Lona Wolf, I bitched to the guys and girls here in my chat before about the subscription model that they're all pushing us towards now. They all want us to go subscription, and it sucks because, you never own the software. As soon as you stop paying the subscription, you lose access to the software. I mean, how is that good for anyone? And it costs more in the long run. So, if you make good use of the software, like you use it a lot all the time, having to be on subscription is a rort. It's just a way for these companies to make more money off of it. That's basically what it's all about. So I hate the subscription model, but they're all going that way now. 3D Studio Max, Autodesk, Adobe, Algorithmic, now Adobe. They're all going this subscription model route. It is not good. Never owning your software outright, always having to pay a subscription every month, and if you stop paying the sub, you can't use the software. How is that good? I mean, it's good for people that don't use the software a lot. So say, you're somebody who needs to use Photoshop to do something for a month, fine. It works out economical for you to sub. But if you're a person that uses Photoshop day in, day out, every year on year, it ends up costing much more money. Now, if you're a business, it's not so bad because you can then write that off on your tax. But if you're an individual, a hobbyist or an indie that doesn't have a business, a multi-million-dollar business that they can, that they can claim on, it ends up costing a fortune. So, Edit Mode says, yeah, a lot of companies will do a pop-in once or twice a week type of thing, it seems. Yeah, it's better for the environment, number one, because, you're not driving your car, so there's less pollution entering the atmosphere and stuff, so it's better for the worker because you don't have to waste however long it takes you to get to the job and get back from the job. It's more relaxing if you can work in your own home environment. It used to be that companies didn't like it because they couldn't keep an eye on you. With the tools and stuff available today, they can track what I do at home here while I'm working if they want to at the studio. That's fine. They're paying me, so I don't have a problem with that. So yeah, it's less of an issue now. It used to be more of an issue in the past. Studios just didn't trust us. but they tend to, it's changed now. So it's better for the studio too because I don't have to rent out as much space. Having said that though, I do have a desk at work, so they still have to keep a desk there for me. Edit mode says some programs will give a huge student discount. Yeah, you can get a student discount, that's true. I had Moto free for a year, was going to be 3 years, but I'm no longer a student. Paz says it's only a tool. Just wanted to, having you mention that edit mode, you can get a free 3-year license for 3D Studio Max or Maya from Autodesk if you're a student. So if you've got a student email address, there's a place on Autodesk website where you can register and they'll give you a 3-year license free for Max or Maya or a range of other software that Autodesk produce as well. So bear that in mind. If you do want to use Max or Maya and you don't want to pay for it and you're a student, register your student email and you can download the software directly from Autodesk. It's completely fully functional. It's exactly the same as everybody else uses. There's nothing disabled in it. The only condition I believe is you can't use it for commercial work. So, but if you're a student, you probably shouldn't be using it for commercial, or shouldn't need to use it for commercial work anyway. So that's an option as well. So if you want to do 3D, you don't want to spend any money and you're not a student, you can download Blender. If you want to use Max or Maya and you are a student, you can get it for free. And I believe at the moment, Autodesk are running a special indie license where you can buy an indie license for Max or for Maya, or I think it's around $200 or $250 for a year. That's something new that Autodesk have only just introduced in the last month or so, and they're not sure how long they're going to run that for. So if you do want to buy a license for a year, perpetual license for a year, it's still only for a year, so I shouldn't call it a perpetual license. You can do that as well if you're not a student and you want to use Max or Maya and you don't want to spend $6,000 buying it at full price. Although I don't even know if you can buy it at full price anymore. It's a sub-model every month now. There's that option too, so keep that in mind. If you do want to use it, you want to use Max or Maya, they're options for you as well. But I fully support everyone using Blender because Blender is completely free and it's really good. We were talking again on my stream a few weeks ago about Epic Games donated $1.2 million to the Blender Foundation to help them improve Blender. So, if Epic Games are confident enough in it to give them $1.2 million, then that should tell you that they have faith in Blender and a lot of people are using it. So yeah, the darker tile just helps to tie everything together a little bit better. It's not quite as busy through these areas. Okay, we've got one object left to texture up, and that is the lion statue, so let's do that. I am going to take a couple of these assets into Mari by the Foundry and do an overpaint on them. Now, Substance Painter and Mari are very similar programs. Well, they're similar in that they're texturing programs. Mari uses materials, Substance uses materials like shaders, substances. Mari has started to use PBR as well now, so you can sort of create a library of substances, for lack of a better word, in Mari if you want. But I'm not going to be using it for that though. I like to get into Mari and I like to use the tablet and do an overpaint on some objects. So I texture them in Mari, then I overpaint a couple of them in, I texture them in Painter, and then I overpaint them in Mari. That's what I'm trying to say. So I'm going to do that on just a couple of the assets that I think could benefit from just having a little bit more interest, a bit more detail added to them. So I'm going to be doing that in Mari. I will probably jump into doing that tomorrow. And then we're going to jump into Eon View and create a 3D environment for the model so I can do some beauty renders. Because I'm selling this model on my 3D store, and I'm also going to include this model in the game that the studio that I'm working with is making. Okay, that was a mouthful. Let's export the lion statues so we can texture it up. Export selected. Let's create a new folder so we keep everything nice and organized. Lion statue. And we're going to call it lion statue. I'm just going to do a quick save here because I never trust a program not to crash. And I turn autosave off on all the programs I use because I hate being interrupted while I'm working, so I must remember to save. I'm generally pretty good, but there have been occasions where I forget. Everything's good in the green. Good. Okay. Alona Wolf says, and with companies like Disney, Ubisoft and Epic investing, you know it's legit. That's right. If that's what you're worried about, that's exactly right. So if you're worried you're going to learn a 3D program that no one's going to use and it's going to disappear in a year, don't fret, don't worry. There are a lot of studios using Blender, particularly indie studios, because it's free. And these other companies, as Alona Wolf says, would not be investing in it if they thought that it was not going to continue on as a viable substitute for programs like Max and Maya. Why do you think Autodesk have released this indie license for Max and Maya? This $200 indie license. They're doing it because they're really worried about Blender. Blender is starting to take away their market share, and they're worried about it. Because why spend $6,000 on Max when you can get Blender for free? That's the problem Autodesk have at the moment. And that's the reason they've introduced this special indie license for $200 for a year. It's because they're really worried about Blender. If it wasn't for Blender, you would not be seeing that indie license, I can guarantee you. Autodesk wouldn't give two rats. Let's just save this so we can create a new project. Alona Wolf says, yeah, that was an interesting timing. It certainly was. Smurfberry says, yeah, anecdotally, I'm hearing more studios are integrating Blender into their pipeline, not just investing the idea of adding it, but actually doing it right now. Yeah, I know a lot of studios that are using Blender as well. Edit Mode says for sure. Alona Wolf says it's good for a consumer at the end of the day. Autodesk makes great products. They do. I love Max. Don't get me wrong. I love Max. Makes great products, but they need competition to maintain the status quo. I agree. I mean, I love Max. I've used Max for like 15 years. Max is my baby. Having said that, I'm going to start to look at Blender as well, not as a replacement for me for Max, because the studio I work at, we do a lot of ArchViz work, and Max integrates really well with the rest of the product suite from Autodesk regarding ArchViz work. So at this stage, the studio is sticking with Max, and I love Max, and I'm going to be using Max. But I'm going to look at Blender because, hey, why not? I want to see what all the fuss is about, and I want to add something else to my resume. Never hurts to have, more software on your resume that you know. All right, let's create a new project. Select the lion statue we just exported. Compute tangent space, everything else should be good. Okay, now I can see here that our normals are flipped. So that's the first thing I'm going to fix. So jump back into Max. I'm just going to isolate the line here. Now, even though you see in Max it looks fine, it does not look like the normals are flipped at all. But Substance Painter is telling me they are, so I can check it in Max. See, even in Max here, that looks correct to me. If I flip the normals, you'll see what I mean. I can find my flip normal. Now you see how it darkened from a light red to a dark red? That's Max telling me your normals are inverted. So what I'm going to do here, because Max is saying the model is fine, I'm just going to do a quick reset on the X-form. Collapse my stack again. And now I'm going to re-export the model again. We'll jump back into Substance Painter. Re-import the model line again. And we're still looking at an invert. Why is that? Okay. Let's give Substance what it wants. And we'll come back and worry about it when we come back into Max. So I'm just going to... Oh, it's because did I forget to reflip them again? I think I did. Now it's correct. We reset the X form, which inverted our UV, our normals, and now we reflip them again. Let me just deselect the model there. Third time's the charm. Back into Substance. Re-import the model. And now we're good to go. Alright, let's bake out our materials. I think that's... Is that the ambient occlusion, I wonder? I think it's the ambient occlusion. Yep. Which we don't need for our model. So. Oh, there you go. Lona Wolf says Ubisoft made an announcement, an official announcement. They're integrating Blender into their pipeline. Well, Ubisoft are a huge company. They wouldn't be doing that if they didn't believe in Blender. That's for sure. Lona Wolf says, yeah, it can't hurt, especially at the low cost of $0.00. That's right. What have they got to lose by integrating it? Edit mode says, looks normal to me. So now we're correct. Now our normals are facing in the right direction. So let's make a material. Let's start texturing this up. All right. So how are we going to do this? Let's start by finding a base color for it. Okay, I'm just going to look at these concretes here and see if there's one that might be good for a base color. We're going to be layering a few materials together and using smart masks. So we just need something that's going to be a base color to begin with. Paz says, when you have a chance, watch QuadRemesh for 3D Studio Max. You can choose how many polys with a slider. It's pretty. I will. After the stream, Paz, I will check out. I'll check out QuadRemesh. For anyone that joined the stream late, QuadRemesh, Paz mentioned in the chat, is a plugin for Maya or Max that does quantify what it says on the tin. QuadRemesh it quantifies and remeshes a model inside of the 3D program. I was saying that I tend to use ZBrush to do my remeshing, but having it in the built into the 3D software saves a lot of steps with having to export it and re-import it. And the price of it was pretty reasonable. It was like $60 for an indie license, I think. Or you can rent it for $15.99 a month, I think it was. Let's have a look at this concrete base here. Again, this is going to be the underlying texture. We're going to start overpainting it soon with other layers. It's not too bad. Might be good for our underlying texture. Let's just get rid of this blank layer at the bottom that Substance Painter adds automatically every time we create a new project. What else can we add on top of this now? I'm going to throw this granite rock down. In Max, that model, the line is sitting on top of those really tall columns, and when I textured the top of those columns up, they're very mossy. So it stands to reason that the line has to have some moss on it as well. I don't like this yellow moss though, so I'm just going to change the color to a green. Not quite so vibrant a green. Take a bit of the green color out of it. I also just want to make a couple of changes to this material. I didn't like the white lichen that was on it. I thought it was distracting. So I just removed the lichen a little bit. Again, I'm just darkening up the moss a bit as well. Okay. Let's start to do a bit of a blend now between these two materials with a smart mask. What are we going to choose? Paz says 2019 script. Are you asking if the model is a 3D scan, Paz? What do we use here? I believe it is, yes. So it's, yeah, a photogrammetry object. I think it was, or actually it could have been a light art scan, I think. Which is why it doesn't have textures. Pink old fibers. I'm just going to find a smart mask here that I think might look cool. Let's try this dirt soft edges one to begin with. Let's try the invert on, see if I like that better. Okay, let's start playing with this a bit more. I always like to flip the invert on and off to see if it gives me a more interesting blend. I prefer it on. My apologies for my phone going off in the background. Happens every time I stream. The machine will get it. Let's see what else we can throw down. I just actually want to swap out. I'm just going to change the granite color as well, I think. Just darken it up. It was just a bit too distracting.
Show me where we began back in 95.
Anything else I want to change? Let me see.
Strong through a friendship that won't die. Show me where
Yeah, again, I'm
we created our greatest plans. On the field of battle, in the childish minds we had.
playing with the value here for the moss a little bit, just so if I can get a bit of a better colour that I like. Alright, let's see if there's another layer we can put on top.
Was it here where you first kissed me on the cheek? Where you held my hand and said you'd always be here for me? Was it here where
Spoiled for choice, really. So many to choose from. Just gotta try and work out what might be cool as a third mix. Let's see what this looks like. No. Let's see what this one looks like. I'm just turning off the height and rough here because I'm not concerned with those. I just want to see what the texture looks like. No, that's not what I want. I wonder if we might bring a bit of a granite in, or a marble. Might be cool. Again, I'm going to turn off the height and the normal. Just play with the scale a little bit. Let's see if we can throw a smart mask down. Let's have a look at the surface worn one. Flip the invert on and off, so try and find one that I prefer the look of. Now, there's a couple of things to bear in mind here with this particular model that we're using. We've got 6 different lion statues around the outside of the terrace. So we're going to try and avoid texturing it up in a way that people will notice that we're reusing the same texture for all of the lines. And a good example of that will be here. If I turn the invert off, you see this pattern that's just here on his chin, on his nose, I should say. That's going to be really noticeable as a repeating texture. So while it looks cool and I like the look of it, if we want to keep reusing the same texture, people will notice things like that. So turning invert on so we get rid of that is better. We don't have such a unique looking texture in a unique spot, you know what I mean? Let's play with the balance a little bit. The contrast. And edit mode, thank you for following the channel as well. I do appreciate it when you guys follow me, so thank you guys for following the Twitch channel. Like I said, do make sure that if you want, that you join the Discord server as well. You don't have to, I'm just saying. It's a good place to hang out. Paint Dynamics Rain. I won't, because I'm worried if I do that, Paz, it might make the texture start to look too unique again. And it gets back to that thing where we have to try and make a generic enough looking texture that people aren't going to notice it's being reused on all of the different line models. There's a couple of ways we could get around that. We could create a couple of different textures and try and vary it up that way. But because I want to bring this into the game level, I don't want to introduce too many unique textures. But that is an option, as Paz says. You can paint dynamics into the texture using Painter. No, it was a very good idea, Paz. It really was a good idea. But it gets back to that point that I was making about that pattern that was on his nose here. It may make the texture look a bit too unique, and then people will notice it more once we start when we repeat the same texture on all of the lines. So yeah, but it was still a good idea, and it is a really cool feature in Painter to actually paint dynamics into the texture using that particle feature. And that's basically what I'm doing here with this, is I'm trying just to find a blend that removes anything that might be noticeable as a repeating texture. Now you might be looking at the model and saying, well, what about at the end of his tail there, Phil? There's a white spot there. People are going to see that, aren't they? Well, that's true, but they're not going to see the end of his tail so much, because when people are running, particularly in the game level, when they're running around, because he's so high up on that pedestal, his tail is never going to be seen. So they're never going to notice that bit of white here on the end of his tail as being the same on every model. They'll never see it. But they will certainly see it up here on his face. So yeah, I'm just trying to get a blend here happening that I like. I rewatched all of the Star Trek movies the other day, the new Star Trek movies. I had a bit of a marathon. I sat through the three of them. You know, Star Trek Beyond, Star Trek Into Darkness, I think that's what they were called. They were well done, the effects were good. I was bored. I wanted to take a break from doing some 3D and yeah, so I decided why not. Okay, I'm just going to return back to this texture here. I'm just going to play with my mixing here a little bit to see what we can come up with, because as I've mentioned before, a lot of people can forget about these blending modes. When you start painting, you get so caught up in painting your different materials and shaders in Painter that you forget about the blending modes. And they can be really useful. I use them all the time in Photoshop as well, just to see what sort of interesting blend you can come up with. I just like to go through them one by one, see if one looks better than the other, one looks more interesting than the other. I actually think I like, what's the normal? I actually think I like the multiply probably the best. I'm just going to check a couple of others. Yeah, I like the multiply. I like how it darkens it up a little bit more. Darkens up the moss a bit more as well, which is not a bad thing. Let's just play with this a little bit. I'm just pulling up on the lichen a little bit, the moss a little bit more. Just going to do a quick save here as well, just around the safe side. Oh, hang on. Because we haven't saved it since we started the project. Lion statue. Okay, let's have a look at the cracks. Dark area. Okay. Alright, let's add a last layer here, and it's going to be a dirt layer. And I like to use the mud texture for the dirt. So let's throw that one down. Again, turning up the height and the normal. And change the scale a little bit. Let's change the color as well. Darken it up. Throw down a smart mask. Let's try the dirt splashes one. And the top one.
Oh, I'm intoxicated. I got a legend on the way. I'm falling for you, baby. What can I do to make you stay? The bassline's taking over. We've come too far to turn around. So turn the music louder and let my feet not touch the ground.
Let's just change the color, make it a little bit darker.
Please can you stay even just for the night? I'm losing my way, but don't try to contain me, 'cause I'm still running wild. 'Cause I'm in a daze and you're driving me crazy. Please can you stay even just for the night? I'm losing my way, but don't try to contain me, 'cause I'm still running wild. Running wild.
Do a quick save again. Okay, now I'm just going through my layer stack here. I'm going to turn these off one by one so I can find the texture I'm looking for. Okay, it's this one.
And let forever sweeten sound. But if I'm moving too fast for you, tell me honestly, what should I do? And if we're grooving too soon, let the
Might just pull back a little bit on the hide information, I think. And this one. I just wanted to make it a little bit less rough, a little bit smoother. Okay, let's create a smart material so we can reuse this in future. If we want to do any other statue work, we can reuse the same smart material. So let's create a folder. I'm going to call it my, so I know it's mine, statues. And let's just pull all of this into that folder. And create a smart material. Okay.
Are you ready?
Let's save the project and export the texture. Make sure we're putting it in the right folder. Yep. Export. Vinyl Penguin, thank you for following the channel Vinyl Penguin. Again, I do appreciate it, guys and girls, when you follow my channel on Twitch. So thank you, Vinyl Penguin. Okay, let's jump back into Max. I'm not going to create a DirectX shader for this. I'm just going to create a normal shader.
Are you ready?
Let's find where we saved it. Line, statue, line, statue, line, statue. So I'm just going to load up the color map. I'm not going to, oh, why not? Let's load up the normal as well. But we're not going to load in the metallic or roughness. When we bring it into Eon View to do the beauty renders, we will. But just for in the viewport here, we won't. But I will load up the normal map. And let's assign the material. That's why it's looking darker here than it did in Substance Painter. The only way we could get it to look the same would be to create a DirectX material. But it only looks darker in the viewport here. It won't look quite this dark when we do the beauty renders. When we set up a proper PBR material. Oh look, why not? Let's do a PBR material. DirectX Shader. Why not? Changing it to interactive. Loading up the normal map. Color map. So that's the reason I set these up, so that we can see what it looks like in the max viewport, like we did in the substance viewport. And roughness. Use you. Use you. Use you. And you. Make it unique. Open the shader. Change the number of lights. Export the graph. I'm going to call it line statue. And I can't spell. Lion statue. Okay. Let's put that up there. Assign the material. And you see now it looks like it does in the substance viewport. Just in shadow on this side. Let's exit isolation mode. Give Max a minute to think about that. Now again, it's looking dark because I don't think I have any lighting near the lion statue. So there are lights behind the lion statues, which is why we see the right color here. But there are none in front, so that's why the lines are a bit dark. Let's just assign the texture to the rest of these lines though. And because I like to grab a screen grab when I make a post on my Twitter page, I'm going to just make a couple of changes. I'm going to add a couple of lights to the front here to better light these lion statues up, so we get a better idea of what they look like. First things first, I'm just going to do a quick save. We're going to do a couple of... Once I've done a bit of an overpaint in Mari on a couple of the assets, then I'm just going to jump into Photoshop and just do some color adjustments on a couple of the assets to make sure they're blending correctly before we jump into Eon View to do the final beauty render. But I just want to add a couple of Omni lights. We'll find out where it is in my viewport. I might even just add one Omni light. Just pull it up. We won't see it here. I have to make a change to the shader, the DirectX Shader, before it'll show up here on our texture. So I might just pull it over. Bring it forward a little bit. Jump back into that texture we're using, that DirectX Shader. And in the shader here, you can tell it which light you want it to use. And this is Omni 7. So you see how it lightened it up? Just going to play with the intensity a little bit. Okay. And I always just like to hide these because they just get distracting otherwise when the viewport, so I'm just going to just hide it. Deselect it. And that's our model, I think, pretty much finished. Do a quick save while I'm talking. Pretty much textured up in Substance Painter. So we can move on to starting just to do a bit of an overpaint. I'm only going to do a couple of assets. I'm not going to overpaint all of the assets in Mari by the Foundry. So I guess that's what's going to be tomorrow's stream. I do want to thank you guys and girls though very much for hanging out with me today and for watching. I will be back again on tomorrow at 5 o'clock Pacific time in the United States. We'll pick up where we left off here. Like I said, we'll probably end up jumping into Mari by the Foundry tomorrow to do a bit of an overpaint on a couple of the assets and see if I can remember how to use Mari, because it's been a little while since I've jumped into Mari. But yeah, so tomorrow when I return, it will be texture painting in Mari on a couple of the assets, and then once that's done, we're going to take the model into Eon View and do some beauty renders. But I do want to thank you guys, like I said, very much for hanging out with me and for watching. I want to thank Vile Penguin, Edit Mode, Young, You Got Spooged, Alona Wolf, Loki Star and Zane, all for following the channel. Thank you guys and girls very much. I'll be back tomorrow and hopefully I will see you guys and girls then. You guys have a great evening or whatever time it is wherever you are, and hopefully I'll see you tomorrow. See you guys.